and welcome to Bookaholic 15. So guys, today's video is really one of my favourite videos to video because it is my top 10 favourite books of 2016. So these are books that I read in 2016 and that I just absolutely loved. So I'm actually going to be doing it this year as a countdown to my favourite of all this year, because I think because I'm doing 10 books and I normally do 5, I really wanted to sort of narrow it down so you guys could see which were my most favourites. But I have quite a few here because I feel like I actually had a really good reading year because I read less than I normally do. I read overall, so far anyway, I've read about 53 or 54 books, and I'm very proud because my challenge was to read 50 books, which was really awesome. So I have already reached it. I reached it I think at the start of December, which was awesome because it kind of took the pressure off a bit and I could just enjoy Christmas and just read whenever I felt like it. But yes, and I'm just really excited to show you the books that I've really enjoyed this year because I'm just excited. So I'm going to go right into it. I don't want this video to be too long, and I'll just give you a few reasons on each book. I might skip a few depending, like I might skip a few of the reasons, I might just show you it just because I don't want to bore you guys. So the 10th book on my list, which is still amazing, is The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson. And the reason it made it onto my top 10 is just I loved this one so much. I think it's my favourite out of all of her books she's written. I loved it because the main character, I love how she is annoying. I really liked her, and I love the love interest, and I love what he does. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I love what he does as a job, and I just loved everything about it. It's quite a thick book as well, and I just really read it so quick, and I was in love with it. There was a slight thing that really annoyed me. It didn't ruin the book or anything, but it was kind of annoying. And also I've read some really good fantasy books ahead, but if I look at my list here, this is the only contemporary romance that's made it onto the list, so it was the best contemporary romance I read this year. And I just really loved it. But of course, there have been other books, so this had to be 10th on my list, which is still good to say, out of like 50-something books, that this is 10th on the list. So the next one still has a bookmark in because it's my most recent read, and this is Crimson Bound by Rosamund Hodge. I absolutely loved Cruel Beauty, and I wanted this book now. I really did enjoy it. There was a part in it that was kind of hard to read for me because it was annoying, but it had a good ending, and I think overall I loved it. And definitely the first part was the best. There was a sort of like, it wasn't even that long to be fair. It's about like just shy of 100 pages. That kind of was a little bit more, it slowed me down, and I sort of was a bit like not enjoying it as much. But then overall, as the whole book, it was really good, and it has a little 16 in it because I recently had my 16th birthday. I will be doing a haul soon. I still have a few more books to collect before doing the video, but I will be doing the video. I don't know if it'll be next year I do the video, but I will get that video done for you guys. But yes, I really enjoyed it. The only reason that it's not as high up on my list is that there was that bit that kind of annoyed me in it. But also I've read just so many good books. It's so hard. But I just think that I absolutely love Rosamund Hodge's writing. But as I was saying, I just really enjoyed this book, and I prefer Cruel Beauty to this book because Cruel Beauty is here, and I actually forgot that I read that last year. For some reason I thought I read it this year, but I didn't. I preferred that one to this book, but I think it's still an amazing book on its own, and I love it so much. Obviously these don't really correlate in any way, but they're both retellings of fairy tales. This is a Red Riding retelling, and the other one was a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I really did still enjoy this book, and I think that the start was just really strong and good, and the ending was amazing. And there was just that tiny bit I said before, but I still love the book, and she hasn't disappointed me with her writing. The next book is Nemesis by Anna Banks. This was the Holicadia book of the month, but unfortunately due to cases of times and life being really busy, we are not going to be doing the book club anymore. But guys, definitely go and read this because as you can see, it has made it onto the 8th book on my list. That is because I absolutely adore the world. It is going to be a duology, so there'll be a second book, which I'm definitely going to be reading because I absolutely adore this world. It is set in Egypt, and the ending is sort of a cliffhanger, but I love the book all the way through, and the reason it's so low down is just because I've read so many good fantasy books. Like, there isn't anything really wrong with this book at all. Some mixed reviews on the cover, but to be fair, I actually like the cover. And overall, it's just a really good book, and I definitely suggest it for you guys because it is just so good. The next book is by my favourite author of all time, the next two actually, and making it onto 7th on my list is Ill Wind by Rachel Caine. This is quite an old book, it wasn't out recently, but I read it this year, and I've actually read most of the series. I think I've got 3 more books to read in the series, which I haven't got to yet. But the first one was just the best out of them all because it really just got me into the books. Obviously the rest are really good at the moment. I did try and read, I think, like the 7th book, but I just wasn't in the mood for it at the moment. But I'm definitely going to be picking the series back up next year. I just really wanted to sort of read some more fantasy and just give this series a rest because I literally was through this series so quick and I don't want to just rush through the last 3 books, especially because there is going to be a 10th book out. I think I might wait till the 10th, I can't speak today, the 10th book's out, and then what I'll do is I will read 4 books because then it's nice. I like to sort of read the books all in a go because I don't really like to just leave gaps because they all really follow on from each other. So yes, this was a great one, and the only reason it's a bit lower down on my list is just for the pure fact of I read so many good books this year. The next one is by the same author, Rachel Caine, and it is 6th on my list, which is Midnight Bytes, which is a short story book. And obviously some of these stories have been published before, but I read them all over again. But for the new stories that were in, I think there were 6 new stories. They were so amazing, so good. And Morganville is my favourite series, so this was just like, I needed it. The only reason it's lower down on my list is because, as I said before, read so many good books, but also because I'd read the other short stories before, and I don't know, it was really hard because I was trying to like put them in a list, but I just love this one so much, and I mean, it's still 6th on my list, and it's amazing. I absolutely adored it. I think the reason that the other ones are higher up is just that they surprised me with how good they are, whereas I just knew this was going to be a good book. The next one I read really surprised me, which was The Inquisition by Taran Matura. I always say the last name wrong, I'm so sorry. But this one is 5th on my list because I read the first one and loved it, and I bought this book thinking that I probably wouldn't read it for a while, and I think I read it in like a week of buying it, and I was obsessed. I read this book so fast. It's so surprising because I'm not one for a boy main character. I know that sounds bad, but I'm not for the sort of fantasy it is, and there's not really any romance in, but the world drew me in, and the trilogy is going to be finished next year, and I cannot wait for the next book. I absolutely adore this book, the cover, the world, the friends, the main characters, and the only reason it's lower down, as I said, is just there's been so many good books, and I definitely recommend this for you guys. I'm just in love with this series so much. The next one is, the reason it's higher is because it surprised me so much, and this is Melinda Salisbury, and it is The Sleeping Prince. And the first book I did enjoy, but wasn't really as keen on the ending. And then I saw this book and I was like, no, I don't think I'm going to get it, because I thought the main character in the first one was sort of a bit annoying sometimes. But I found out it was a different story, and when I read it, it connected to the first one. It carried on the next one, but with a new character that I really preferred. And there was a romance in this as well. And then all these twists happened, and I just did not see it coming, and I think it's going to be a trilogy, and I think the 3rd one is coming out next year as well, around the same time as the other book, and I'm just like, I need this book. So this one is now 4th on my list, which is really good, and I just loved it, and I just really was surprised with how much I loved it, and it actually made me love the first one more because it made me understand it a lot more, and also because you bring in new characters that you love. It's really easy to sort of at least find one character that you like, and I just loved it. The next book is A Mad Zombie Party by Jenna Showalter. This is the 4th and final book in the White Rabbit Chronicles. And the thing about this book was, I loved the trilogy because it was meant to be a trilogy, and then they added in this book. And I wasn't sure because it's actually told from 2 people's perspectives that aren't in the 3 books. They are main characters in the 3 books, but you don't read from their perspective, and I actually preferred this book to all the rest because I preferred the characters. I think his name's Frosty and Mila, and I just loved it a lot more. I love the romance more, and I just think it was like the best book, and I actually felt really sad because I wish that the whole series had been told from their points of view. Not that I didn't love the first 3, but this just really made the series like one of my favourite series because of this book, because I did love the first 3, but I did find the second one was interesting and actually probably one of my favourites, but also very annoying. And I did find the first 3 sort of repetitive in the romance, whereas this was just really good. It was in one book, it was all sorted, and I liked that, because in the other ones it kind of was dragged out through the 3 books. That's, I think, why I like this one more. And this second book on my list is one that, I don't know, I was a bit reluctant to read because I'd sort of forgotten about the other storylines that were happening, because there's so much to remember in this series. But when I read it, it really just reminded me of everything I needed to know, and I sort of caught up. And that's Winter by Marissa Meyer. Also, because it was so thick, I just thought, I'm not going to remember what happened in the series. I'm just going to be reading this so confused. But the cool thing about this book is that it just reminds you about things. So when I've forgotten stuff and I was a bit confused, it would remind me, and it really helped. Also because it had all the characters in the book, and I loved all the characters. And I just loved reading this book because there wasn't one point of view that I didn't like reading. I read this in a week, and I think there's 800 something pages in here. I read this near the start of the year, and it's still a book that I remember. It was my favourite because Crest is my least favourite, because I don't know, I think there were some bits that sort of dragged a bit, and it really kind of put me off reading this one because I thought, look how thick this one is, it's going to be so boring. But it was the best in the whole series. I absolutely loved it. And it was just, I think alone, this sounds really weird, but even if I'd read it without reading the other series, I think I would have loved it, because it did go over enough, and I just loved all the characters in this book. And it was just the best one in the series, and really made the series one of my favourite series ever. And last but by no means least is a real surprise for me, because it was actually just an impulse buy. My parents were like, we're going to buy you a book, because I had just babysat for them, and they were like, oh, we'll get you a book. And it was on a deal, it was £5, and it was a hardback edition, so I thought, why not? And it ended up being my favourite book this year. It was so good, and I still feel like crying because it's a standalone. And it is The Diabolic by S.J. and Kincaid. And I absolutely fell in love with this book. It was brutal, the romance was good, the world was good, confusing but good. And when I finished it, I was just like in love. Like, I could have read more of this. This could have been a huge series for me. But it's a standalone. I mean, maybe it's a good thing, because it was such a good book, you wouldn't want to read a second one and be disappointed. And there's different editions. You can get a white cover. I got the black cover. You can't choose, they just randomly send you one. But I absolutely loved this book. It was amazing. Like, I could not put it down. And I think I read it in about 2 days. And the cover's beautiful. So, guys, I hope I gave you enough reasons and explained things. And I think this is going to be one of the longer videos. But yes, so these are the top, if I can even get these. Oh, God. Top 10 books of 2016. Let me hold these up. Oh, God, I don't think I can. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Please tell me what your favourite books were, or if you read any books in this list and enjoyed them, please tell me, because I just love talking to you guys about books. And yes, thanks for watching, guys. Bye!